Hello everyone. Thanks for joining me. So let's see, today I wanted to talk about knitting styles, and one in particular that I'm going to show you is my what I call Portu-nental knitting, which is a combination of continental and Portuguese for color work. And I've been using that because I'm working on the design for our slow crawl project. So I'll give you a little sneak peek of that as well. But I've been using it to do all of this fabulous color work. And I need to switch needles again because this one is too small again. But that's a little sneak peek, and this is color work I've been doing. And what I do with my combined Portuguese and continental color work is I use continental for my main color, and then I use the Portuguese for my contrast color, and that happens to be this one. That's cork that's coming in next. So I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. But before we get to Portu-nental knitting, I want to talk a little bit. Well, hello, Marshmallow. This would be the inside kitty. He's been on here a few times in the past. Hi. Come here. This is Marshmallow. You can sit on my lap while I talk. So when it comes to knitting, there are many different ways to perform the same stitches. So we have a knit stitch and a purl stitch. There's only the two stitches, right? That's all there is for knitting. But there are different ways that you can, there we go. There are different ways that you can make those stitches. So we tend to think of those as knitting styles. So I'm a continental knitter. That means that I pretty much carry my yarn in my left hand and I pick my stitches up. There's also English knitting. Those are the two most common types of knitting. They're the two most well-known styles of knitting, but they are not the only ways that you can knit. So I went off down a little bit of a rabbit hole because I like learning, and I like researching, and I like knitting. So this combined all of those things into kind of the same path today. And I decided I was going to talk about all the different ways that you could knit. So we talked about continental, we talked about English. There's also Portuguese, right? So that's where you're carrying the yarn around your neck, or you're carrying it on a knitting pin. Actually, I wonder if I used to have the knitting pin in this bag, but it's been so long that I can't remember if it's still, oh! I found my knitting pin. So you can actually use, we sell these in the shop, these great little knitting pins. You get two of them. But it's basically a safety pin with a hook that allows you to do Portuguese knitting. So you can just take this and, oops, there we go. And you can run your knitting through here for tensioning purposes. So that's a knitting pin. So you can either use, for Portuguese, you can bring the yarn around your neck, or you can run it through your pin and down. Well, either way. Thank you, Marshmallow. Can you stay out of the bowl today? Probably not. So those are three different styles. Another way that you might not have heard of would be Shetland or hip knitting. And I think Tina maybe bought a Shetland belt and was going to kind of pursue that at one point, but I don't know if she ever did. I'll have to ask her about that. But what you do with Shetland knitting is you have a belt, and you have a like a little spot, and sometimes it's like a little leather piece. There's also wood pieces, but basically you just have a little shape that has a hole in it, and you take your long double-pointed needles and you stick one end down in the hole, and then you knit off of the other end. So we're already up to 4 different styles of knitting. And then you can also add in lever or Irish cottage knitting, which is sometimes called pit knitting. But there are different ways to do these as well. So these are kind of general broad categories. But with lever Irish cottage knitting, usually you're holding a straight needle either under your armpit or in your hand, and it works best with straights. It's very hard to use circulars with that style of knitting. It's not impossible, it's just a lot harder. It's much easier to do lever, and I don't call it lever because it's a lever. Anyway, lever knitting, or Irish cottage knitting, same idea. Or again, the pit knitting, where you are using your arm or the back of your hand to support the weight of the needle. You aren't used, so you're supporting it like this, as opposed to holding it down here like we do with English and continental knitting. You're doing more of it up here so that you can flick and move this English style finger here. So it's a super fast way to knit. You can find some really cool videos on YouTube if you want to see more about that. And then one that kind of like spans the style versus variation border is the one that's called combination knitting. Also a really cool way to knit. You can carry your yarn in either hand, and you are using a combination of Eastern and Western orientations. That's the word that I want. So with combination knitting, you might be wrapping the yarn clockwise on one row and then counterclockwise on the next, and then you have to kind of adjust for the variations so that you don't end up with twisted stitches. Okay, so now we get to variations, right? Variations. So if you haven't watched someone do a Norwegian purl, it is really, really cool. It's kind of like magic because you keep your hands in the same position. You do not really move your yarn like forward necessarily. You kind of do, but you kind of don't. And you do this little magical twist with your needle tip, and suddenly you've made a purl stitch. And it's all about how you scoop the yarn. But again, there's some really cool videos on YouTube on the Norwegian purl. So when you're knitting Norwegian, you pretty much knit like you would a continental knitter, or even an English knitter, but the purl is what's different. And then you also get into two-color work, like we're going to talk about today. So there's different ways that you can do that. There's two-color picking, which is, you know, basically two-color continental, where you're running one color here off of your left hand or your non-dominant hand. Then there's two-color throwing, which is, again, it's English style, so you're running it off of two fingers on your dominant hand. That's the difference there. And then there's also combinations, so you might, you know, use one color continental and one color English, or in my case, which is how this all works together in my head, one color continental and one color Portuguese. So there's all kinds of variations on how to perform knits and purls, and then there's just, again, a few different styles. And so by the time you put them all together, you end up with a lot of different ways to knit. None of them are wrong. I want to make sure I say that. None of them are wrong. They're just different ways to do that. And I was reading again today about the difference between Eastern and Western style knitters, where with one, you are always wrapping the yarn counterclockwise, which is how, let's see, so I must be Western then with the counterclockwise. Because that's what I do, that's how I was taught, that's how I teach, is that you're always wrapping it counterclockwise, so that when you look at the V of your stitch, that it's always, you know, sitting in one direction versus the other direction, and it's all in how you wrap your yarn. So if you're always wrapping it counterclockwise, then it will always come out looking smooth. And if you're always wrapping it clockwise, it will always come out looking smooth. And it's really just two different schools of thought on which way the yarn wraps. But I think it's a really important point to make that as you are teaching or learning about knitting or crochet, or actually tatting, whatever, it's a really good idea to look at the many different styles that are available and have someone explain it to you if they can, so that you can explore which style works best for you. Because again, none of them are wrong, but one way is going to work better for you than another. And you might find that if you start English, that, you know, that it's really uncomfortable for your hands, and you might need to be a continental knitter, and vice versa. That if you start continental, it's really uncomfortable. I've been in classes before, beginning knitting classes, where I've tried to teach people how to knit, and they just could not do a continental style. And I said, no problem, let's try you on a different style. And they picked it right up, and everything was fine. But sometimes it's just how our brains work, and we have trouble picking it up in one way. So it's great that we have so many different ways in which to knit. Now, having said all of that, I really want to show you how to do my combined continental and Portuguese color work, which I call Portu-nental because I'm weird like that. So I need to set up just a little bit. Bear with me while I do that because I need to kind of move around and change the angle of the camera so that so you can watch my hands better. And then we'll come back and talk about more stuff because we've got so much stuff going on with this year of self-care and all kinds of fun things. So, hi, now I'm really close to the camera. Oh, look, I have a whole, let's see, who's here today? I can't even tell who's here today. My ring is too bright. Okay. So I need this one, and I don't need this one, but I need my pattern. Okay, that's easy enough, 3-1. That's a long row. So let me get all set up, and bear with me while I, whoops, sorry about that. Hang on, it's my wall. Okay. Hopefully, let me see if you can see. Nope, not yet. Okay, cool. There we go. So, continental knitting is where you hold the yarn in your left hand. I'm going to back out so I can show you these 2 stitches, but I don't make too much of a mess of this. So continental knitting is where I'm going to hold my yarn over here in my left hand, and I'm going to insert my needle like this through the front of my stitch, out the back of my stitch. I'm going to wrap my yarn counterclockwise around, pull it through, and pop my stitch off. So this is continental. Portuguese is where it gets fun. So I'll take this off to the side. I'm just going to take this yarn and I'm running it around my neck. And I like to put my yarn on the floor in a bowl. That's why that's in that little old bowl. And then I like to tension my yarn, just kind of wrap it around my pinky. You don't have to do this. I find it just gives me a little bit better control. That's also why the knitting pins are nice, because you can wrap it a couple of times around the pin to get started. And I'm just going to lay my yarn in here. And the first stitch is always the hardest because I kind of have to hold it down to get this started in my round. And when you do a Portuguese knit, you do it a little bit differently. And it's kind of related to a Norwegian purl, which I think is cool. So what you're going to do is you'll insert your needle tip in the front, but then instead of coming out the back, you kind of put it in the front so that the tip comes in front and you're hooked through that needle, or excuse me, through that stitch. And then you're going to, I hold the yarn down, again, we're getting started, with my index finger, and then you're going to use your thumb to flick it up and over the top. And this one we kind of have to hold down. Once there's some tension on this, you won't have to do that. And that is your first Portuguese stitch. So my pattern is 3 of my base color and then 1 of my contrast. So let's do that Portuguese knit again. So you're going to take that needle tip, you'll stick it into your stitch, but instead of going to the back of the stitch, you want to take your needle tip and keep it in front of your non-dominant needle. And then you're going to use your thumb to flick it over. And you can see that the tension is enough on that. You have to keep it up top. You cannot bring your yarn to the front because this causes problems. You have to keep your yarn kind of up over the top of your work. But you can just use your thumb to flick it over, and it wants to stay there. It's comfortable staying there. I'm not putting any extra like pressure on this. I'm not trying to hold it down. It wants to stay there just because of the tension and the angle at which you've placed it in. And there you go. So we've done 1 more stitch. So 3 more stitches in continental. And we're going to do that again. So remember, again, we want to push it in so that the needle tip crosses in the front instead of going to the back. And then you're just going to flick your thumb over. And there we go. And once again, you want to make sure that you aren't keeping your yarn to the front. If you do this, you're going to get floats across the front. It's a great way to have a slipped float across the front of your knitting. Marshmallow. Shoo. It's trying to get my bag. The yarn is too tempting for the little gray kitty. Anyway, you want to keep it up over the top. Now, the really cool thing, too, is that when you do a Portuguese purl, which is how I've always purled, you bring your yarn, you keep your yarn kind of in front like this, but you just flip it up and over. This is a Portuguese purl, where you put it in as if to purl like normal, but then you just flip it up and over with your thumb. It's a super efficient way to purl. It's one of the most efficient ways to purl that I know of in knitting. If you know of a more efficient one, I would love to hear about it. But that is essentially my combination of continental and Portuguese knitting so that I can get beautiful color work like this really fast, because I can just run one color in my non-dominant hand and one color around my neck. And you can see, let's see if I can flip this up. So, hello, see, it's just around my neck. I mean, I'm not doing anything fancy, but you can also run it from a knitting pin. Hey, this matches the color of my sweater. I really like this color, by the way. So that is the idea on Portuguese and continental knitting combined. All right, let me turn this back around and we'll talk some more. And there we go. And all right, cool. So let's talk more. So I put a ton of classes up on the Black Sheep website, a whole bunch of classes. I have a beginning lace knitting class. I have an intermediate lace class, Estonian lace, Shetland lace. Remember Friday, we start with the beginning shuttle tatting class. So if you have supplies you've always wanted to learn, I'm teaching. All you have to do is sign up, and we're going to do video online classes. I'm really excited to do it. I've missed teaching, in person. This is as close as I can get. So, I would love to see you in my classes. And I'm thinking of doing like a Portuguese, a Portu-nental class as well, where we can knit along and make the Victor stranded mitts, and then we can do the steeking and the needle felted edge as well. And I found my needle felting needle. Very proud of myself for that, because I have not been able to find it for ages, and I found it. So not a good thing to lose, but luckily it was still in its little case, so it's totally fine. But yeah, anyway, I'm excited about that. And don't forget that when I teach, you get lovely little booklets. So, lovely little booklets, all kinds of lovely little booklets. All right, now, let's talk about the year of self-care. If you have not yet posted your year of self-care plan, so what you are setting for your goals for every month, you are missing out on a contest opportunity, because Tina is giving away, I think she said a piece of swag, although don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure she said a piece of swag for someone, some random person who posts their year of self-care, Crafter's year of self-care goals on any one of our social media accounts. So you just have to, go to your favorite place, whether it's Facebook, where you see me here, or YouTube, or Instagram, or TikTok. You got to tag #BSFE or #Black Sheep Fiber Emporium so we can find you, and you'll be entered. So remember, you have to make it public so we can see it, and show us what you are planning to work on for the year. Now, the other contest, we have 2 contests this month. So one is your goals for the year, and one is for just your work in progress. So like, I've been posting about my fabulous hand spun yarn, which I washed today, so it's all washed and I can start making my sweater, which is very exciting. Which is also part of why I'm trying to get this guy done so that I can start working on my sweater. You know, because that's exciting to me. But we want to hear what you are working on and how your goals are going. And we don't care if you actually make your goals so much as like finish your goals. As much as we care that you are just like participating and having fun, and it's helping you to, you know, feel better, because it is the Crafter's Year of Self-Care. So anyway, that's the idea, and there you can see me working away. It's super simple, it's super fast, it works so well for color work. I love color work. Like, I always kind of liked color work, but now I love color work because it's so easy. And I suppose I could put the knitting pin in and we could try it that way. I'm just used to doing it like this. Normally because I can't find that knitting pin. I know, I have terrible luck finding things anymore. I used to have a great memory, and there it went. You know, got pregnant, had a baby, there went my brain. So, hate to say it, but that's a true, what's the word I want? Trope, maybe? I don't know, can't remember words anymore either. It's terrible. Anyway, so if you are catching Tina's videos on Fridays, you will have already known about the contest, but if you didn't, we want to hear from you. We want to see what you're working on. I mean, it's all about you. It's your year of self-care. It's what makes you happiest. You know, for me, it was getting my yarn spun for my sweater, which was awesome. So, oh, hey, Angeles! And, oh, you're still working on your scarf. Nice. I love scarves. Scarves are fabulous. And then I wanted to mention, there is a new Estonian lace book coming out. It's, let's see, Siri Rated 2, I think. I probably butchered that pronunciation, and I apologize. But it is the second book that follows this one by Siri Riemann, and I probably butchered that as well. These are wonderful books. I love them. They have giant color photos. They have enormous charts. If you love lace knitting, this one doesn't happen to have the color photo in it, but if you love lace knitting, these books are so cool. I have like an entire library of them because I adore them. I love how big they are. I love the hardback. I love the big charts. I like, I love the photography. Just love the photography. Look at the photography in this one. Love the photography. I mean, it's the kind of book that you can actually put on your coffee table or keep out if you don't have children or destructive pets. And anyway, you can enjoy these books all the time. So the second one is coming out. We're pre-ordering it. It's on pre-order right now. It's discounted while it's on pre-order. So if you love books like we do, I love books. I have a library behind me. I love books. See, I'm hugging my book. Yeah, we're getting it in. We are totally getting it in, and you can pre-order it. Like, it's not in print yet. It's coming. We can pre-order it from the publisher. That's how new it is. And yeah, all you have to do is go to that blacksheepfiberemporium.com and you can find it there. I love these books. So, just a little tiny PSA about that. Anyway, I know, well, I might have to keep it out now and look at it because I got it out and I petted it, and now I have to play with it. So that's just all there is to it. So anyway, just wanted to make you aware of that. Monday, we are going to be doing some tatting. I'm trying to put the events up on Facebook at least a week in advance now so you can see it. Next Wednesday, I'm not going to be on. I have to have some dental work done, and I do not know how I'm going to be feeling in the afternoon. So I am just not going to chance it. So I will not be here next Wednesday, but I'll be back the following week. I'll think of a couple more fun topics that we'll talk about. I'll put them up in the events so you know what's happening. And don't forget to keep working on your self-care goals. You know, write out your list of what your goals are. If you want, you can go to that Black Sheep Fiber Emporium. You can click on the link to go to our whole page about the self-care. You can download a PDF and write in what your goals are. Take a picture of that, throw it up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Tell us what you're doing and we'll enter you in the contest because we're giving away a piece of swag for that Crafters Year of Self-Care. Tell your friends, get them involved. It's not too late. We're running this the entire year. Who cares if you miss part of January? It's all about your goals. So, like, get all your friends involved. I was already bugging some of my people going, hey, this is really fun. Like, we're doing this fun thing. You want to join us? So, and make sure that you're sharing these videos with your friends too and telling them they should join in because we want to make this like a really fun year of crafting for everybody and, you know, and share our love of fiber and fun things. So, anyway. I will see you all on Monday. Until then, remember to stay happy, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, wear your mask, physically distance, wash your hands. Use the hand sanitizer if you can't, but wash your hands. I wash my hands a lot. I now need a lot of lotion here at home because I wash my hands a ton, which I've been doing a lot for the last 3 years because of Ina. But anyway, wash your hands a lot and, you know, take care of yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, and, as I like to say, craftually. Make sure you're doing a little bit of crafting every day, even if it's just a few minutes. It'll make you feel so much better. So until next Monday, take care of yourself, and don't forget to check out Tina and her video on Friday too. So I'm going to try and make sure that we start putting up the events for her. But I know she'll be back on Friday about the same time that I talk, which is like 3 o'clock Central. So it's about 1 o'clock Oregon time, Pacific time. So, and, oh, yes, the list of self-care is definitely on the Facebook page. There's a link, and you can get to it through our webpage. If you hit the link tree in our TikTok account, or our Instagram account, or you go to Black Sheep Fiber Emporium, which you can get to through this page, then you can check out the Crafters Year of Self-Care. Like there's a whole web page on it on our website that is just about the Year of Self-Care, and there's a big logo on the front page, and there's a banner on our front page. I've been trying to make it super accessible because I want to tell everybody about the self-care because, you know, it's all about making goals for yourself and having fun. But there's a whole list there. It tells you everything for every month, and there's a PDF that you can print off that has all the titles for each month, and you can just get to it off of our webpage. You can find it there. We're trying to make it as accessible as we possibly can. So yeah, we know not everybody is totally into social media, so we made sure that we put all of the information up on our website. So hey, and it's nice to see you. So welcome. I do this Mondays and Wednesdays. Tina does this on Friday. We chit chat and I show fun stuff. And then we also put these up on YouTube. So make sure that you've hit that like or follow button so that you know when we're going live and where the videos are coming from. And I don't know, there's all this social media stuff. I'm doing the best I can, people. Doing the best I can. So anyway, awesome. So you guys have a great day. I will see you Monday. We're going to talk tatting on Monday. Shuttle tatting.